Today we're going to be doing the 90-degree haircut with scissors on top, razor at the bottom for the state board exam. First we're going to do a parting that follows the hairline. So here, follow the hairline right at the occipital bone area, following it back up and to here. Your partings on the side are only going to be about an inch. You'll also have a mohawk section at the top, and then you will have the sides clipped up and out of the way. The portion that is not clipped right now, this is going to be the portion that will be cut with the razor. When you're using your razor, if you look at the razor, you'll see that you can see the blade right there. When you turn it over, you can see the guard. The guard are the little U marks, and you see all of the U marks. Okay. So be sure that when you're cutting, you have the guard towards your client. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take a small section. We're going to be cutting at a 0 degree. I'm going to split this in half. Subsection. Now the other thing to be aware of is when you're working with your razor, be sure that that razor is pointed away. So you want to turn it around so that you're not cutting the hair at all when you're working with the comb. Okay. So we'll start here, comb all of this out of the way. And we'll take a section over here and comb this out of the way. So there's your first parting, and we'll get started. Okay, state board requires that you cut an inch off, I believe. So I want to be sure you're cutting enough off so they can see what you have cut. Okay, so I'm checking. I've got my guard pointing towards my client, coming down at a 0 degree to set my guide. I'm going to place the the razor here and just gently pull it down like that, okay? And continuing with a 0 degree elevation. Now when you're looking and cutting your guide, you see the guide, which is under here. And when you're using a razor, you want to slide that guide away so you're not going to make your hair cut shorter and shorter as you go. Okay, so now I see the guide and I can cut. There's my guide, but slide your guide to the top other side of your finger. Once you see that, then you know you can cut. All right, so let's move to the other side. Straight down, no elevation. Go for our last section. Checking for balance. Okay. So continuing along at the perimeter, following the hairline, coming down, and just keep working around to get your perimeter set. other side. All right, I'm going to check for balance now. Looks good. All right, next we're going to start to elevate this back portion by taking vertical sections and using a 90-degree elevation off of the head. So you will bring this out, check the 90-degree elevation. So if you place the comb against the head, the way the direction of the teeth are going is your elevation. So this would not be the right elevation for this zone of the head. So if you need to check that, check it, okay? It's okay. Better to be safe. So now I'm going to hold my fingers in a parallel to the parting direction. And I am going to remove, this is my guide, this bottom piece right here, that's my guide. So I will slide my fingers out. When I get to this guide, I will stop, and now I will cut. There's the guide, it just dropped out, and I know I cut there. So that's what you should be seeing, just like that. So now we'll cut this in half. Now we will move to the other side here, and we'll just take this. Again, we're going to take a vertical parting, take some of the previously cut hair, make sure you have this out of the way. Pull this out at your 90-degree. Let that hair drop. It's right there. You can see it. And cut. Next section. This section through here, we're going to stop right here, okay? So do not do any more from behind the ear forward. This hair is all, that bottom perimeter is all we're cutting with the razor. The rest of this we will be using scissors. Come around to the other side. This is where my last section started, so continue on in the same fashion. Check your elevation. And again, last section here, I'm only going to go right here to the back of the head. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and check, make sure that everything is even. That looks good. Looks good. One little piece there. Remember, when you're using the razor, you're not going to get a real clean, hard edge. That's the beauty of the razor. So if you're checking and you think that it's not even, be sure that you're not looking at it and noticing that it's more of a jaggedy edge, okay? That's how it's supposed to be. But if you come across and have one long hair, you want to take that off. So that's going to, always be sure you've got this turned around. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to check the parameter because remember we stopped here. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this parameter down here matches up, and it does. Don't take this hair up here, you'll cut off too much. This hair we're not cutting over here. So you just want to look at the parameter. So starting here, from here to here, make sure that transition is nice and even. So let me check the other side and then we'll move on. Going to do it. So the next step, we're going to move on to using the scissors. Okay, so we've completed the razor portion of the 90-degree haircut for his state board examination. I've taken down all the other clips and left just the mohawk up. I'm going to clip this hair out of the way and I'm going to cut the mohawk section next. So I'm just going to gather all this together and clip it. Right. For this section, we'll start in the back. Take your parting here to create your guide. And this is a 90-degree elevation. So I'm going to make a guide, check my elevation. I want to only cut to the second knuckle. Do not cut past the second knuckle. Take your next section. You can divide the previous section in half to carry that guide forward. Come up 90 degrees, there's my guide. My hands are going to be parallel to my parting. My elevation is going to be 90 degrees. Cutting to the second knuckle, not past it. Move to the next section. Cut the previous section in half to continue with my traveling guide. 90 degrees up. So always be sure that you don't have the hair flinging in your client's face, okay? I don't need this clip any longer. I'm just gonna set that aside. It is the same client, so you can put things back onto the table. Just make sure they don't have hair all over them. So here's where our angle is gonna start changing, okay? So now I'm checking to make sure, because as you move forward and take your section, see how that angle changes on the direction of the teeth of the comb? Here, they're here. As I go, they're gonna keep moving forward. That's your true 90 off of the head. And last section. Check your elevation, especially here in the front, okay? Because see this? You need to have your elevation right here. Oh my God. So now you can gather it all up to do a cross check on it. Picking up all of the hair I just cut on the mohawk section. I'm gonna bring it straight up. And we just have all these little scragglers here, so I'm gonna go ahead and take those off. Okay, so that's it for the top section. Okay, so now we have finished the mohawk section. I'm going to repart the hair. What I've done is I have made a parting that starts just at the top of the ear all the way across to the other side, and then split this top portion in half, gathered up all of the hair in the back, and we will now cut the sides. To cut the sides, I'm going to take a small section. I'm going to be elevating this up. And again, everything is going to be at a 90-degree elevation. So there's my guide from the mohawk section. Here's my 90-degree elevation. And I'm going to cut. And just move my way down. Check your elevation. Come out to where you see your guide. Before you move on, once you've established this guide, you should be sure you go back and double check before you keep cutting, because if you start off with an uneven guide, that's going to mess up the whole haircut. Okay, so we have that established, and we will just continue on with these partings, just like we did with the mohawk section. finished here. Do a quick cross check, make sure everything looks okay. Gathering all of this up. We're good. Okay. We're going to repeat on the other side. Cross check. So, let me see, that's a weird angle for you to film it. Okay, so just a little smidge right here, but we want to be sure that we're bringing this out and we're not cutting it too short. So always double check your angle before you go in and cut. Okay, so that's why I moved it around a little bit. This looks fine. So before we move on, now we can make sure that everything in the front portion of the haircut is even. Looks good. next we'll move on to the back. All right, so we have cross-checked everything in the front, and we are basically finished with the front of the entire haircut. We've also done the razor portion, so all we have left is this middle section. We're gonna do this middle section in the back exactly the same way we just did the sides. So essentially, you're going to take a small piece. Now I made sure that I had a piece of that original mohawk section for my guide to follow it. So when you start, if you can't find that piece, then all you need to do is just unclip whatever you've sectioned off, find it, and add it to your parting. And again, we're going to continue with the 90-degree elevation. And there it is. Now at some point you're going to match up with where we left off. So as we continue down, should meet the bottom, and it should all blend. See, there's where you cut before. Here's where we're cutting now. I can take all of this. You don't want to cut the portion that you did with the razor, so leave that out, but just checking for a little bit of balance, see if I missed anything. And until I move on, I want to check this all so that I have an even established guide. Okay, and we leave the bottom alone. So now we just continue on. These partings are pie-shaped partings, so I have the start right here, and I part it as I'm going, sort of like bicycle spokes. Now watch, this bottom part should fall out, and that's because that's again where we already cut. Okay, one another parting, pie-shaped. Should be that. Let's see. This is a brand new doll, so I'm finding a lot of little squiggly pieces. So that's why I keep checking and recutting it, not making sure I'm not skipping any of those little pieces. Elevation. Now we'll move to the other side. And the last thing we're going to do is check the bottom parameter. that hurt. Going to use my razor, so I'm just going to tissue this off. I don't have any tissues with me, but you would tissue this off, set your shears aside. I'm going to pick my razor back up, making sure that that guard is towards your client and away from the hair while you are combing and looking at it. So now all I need to do is just come down here and make sure that everything falls nice and evenly. A little piece right here. Okay, so in this little part right here, where the transition goes from behind the ear, I want you to take this, over direct it, and just even this area up. You can see there's a guide, there's a guide. So we're looking at this little piece right here, and I just want you to gently take this little piece off. Okay, let's go on the other side. Again, take this hair, move this forward, and that one's okay. Then check the front. One little piece right there, not a big deal. So then go ahead and put your razor down, making sure you wipe it off, set it aside, re-wet the hair. So when the examiner comes by to check it, it's easy for her to comb through. And that will be your State Board 90-degree haircut with razor on the bottom and scissors on the top. Thanks for watching.